confuse pellet boiler with this, because this has no...
No.
Okay, I didn't mean to do that. What I was
Okay.
saying was,
Just wanna make
that
sure
space is ready, big enough for the pellet boiler and maintenance, laundry, and is there any money there for the rehab of space to be rented in that $1.5 million?
Yes, there was a significant renovation for the co-op,
Okay.
correct. That was also the new roof.
The new roof over the core building
Over the
only?
core portion of the building, yep.
Okay. So our number that we had November 2nd, which my question is there any new estimates? There are no new estimates. 1.5 million is our number.
Well, not really.
No.
Representative.
I would agree.
No, you got the soft cost, so are we talking typically another 10%, 15%?
I think 20, I think 20 is conservative, because that would include equipment. If you're not
So
gonna buy
we're up to
equipment...
1.8.
1.8 million.
Plus the furnace installation, the pellet boiler installation, which is 375. That's not included in that number.
Would the commissioners agree or disagree with that analysis?
Yeah, what was done on November 2nd. However, I think cooperative extension, if they do come down, that figure could be reduced considerably. And I believe that was 450,000?
It was. The co-op alone was 452, and I think we had a lengthy discussion with the delegation at the time about that. And that was a new air handling system and so forth for that space, and obviously you could make some decisions there that may make that less.
Quite a bit less.
Okay. Okay. If I can go back to my question. My question was, are there any new cost estimates for the rehab of the building core that have not been previously shared with the delegation? But you're telling me that there is a new number, because part of our number is for the rehab of space for a tenant.
Yes.
That's part of our 1.5 million.
Yep.
But you're telling me now that that space perhaps could be rehabbed for less money by your one targeted tenant that says it could be less or not?
No, they haven't agreed to that. What I had said to the delegation, we made some assumptions. The budget that you have that includes the 1.5, and I think I explained this to the delegates, was that you go into that building, as well as the commission, and you have an elder building there that goes back in the 60s and 70s that's been renovated multiple times. The assumption in that 450 was we were taking out the ceilings completely in that co-op space, rewiring completely, and putting in a new HVAC system. If you, as the owner, say, no, that's not necessary, in the final design leg of that, then you may reduce that budget. I think that budget is, we looked at it as to create, I'll say, a 20-year space for you that was gonna be headache-free. You could move a tenant, there's nothing to say you can't put a tenant in there by segregating the space and putting them in as is, you were just operating in it. But you're gonna have to make it at least code compliant. This budget assumed fresh paint, you know, basically making it a comfortable, relatively new space. Because you do have some elder systems in there, and you've got quite a variety of electrical in there.
Okay, so I'll come back to it in one second. So, and I'll come back to you. We're going to call 1.5 1.8 million because the Bonnet Page and Stone is sitting here that they believe that it's probably a 20% soft cost. Comfortable with that? We've already said that. Okay. So we're at $1.8 million for the renovation of the building. Renovation of the building is the core itself. The other extremities are gone. It's been tightened up. The building's ready to go. Meets all code. Electrical's fine. And we've created square footage in there for a white envelope for a tenant. Okay. That's what 1.8 million buys us, and that number hasn't changed. We have another cost of $375,000, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, which is the pellet boiler. What needs to happen there with the install. But if I go back to the $1.8 million, which if you add the two numbers is over $2 million anyways. $1.8 million, the question was, has anything changed since then? It's the hope of the subcommittee that we have the final numbers that are proposed to the delegation so that we can make a determination, a recommendation. But what I'm hearing is that we're still on a moving target and that number could be less. And from everything I've learned from this process, it could be more. So we have space tentatively planned, an envelope tearing down, because I believe part of that was renovation to make that space more usable. Air handling systems, whatever it was, you came up with that number. What leads you to believe that that number could be different? That's my question.
In a lesser fashion, for the co-op space?
Yeah, well, the target keeps moving. What
The only reason it keeps moving is we had the EGA study, a preliminary schematic study done on the building. You have yet to hire an architect, you've yet to have an engineer involved, and basically you've got to do an overall code review of the building and get the final design pinned down. What exact space are they taking? We kind of did, I guess if you will, a study for you, gave you what I think is responsible budgets, so that you could decide whether this is even something you want to pursue. These numbers will evolve with that design, but we do this quite often for public entities. It's really to help you folks make a decision of the direction. Does that direction make sense? If it does, your next step, in my opinion, would be you hire a design team, you begin to work with the committee and refine that design, and as well with that, just like you did with the nursing home. And the budget and price evolved as well, and you have various baby steps, if you will, of approval to guide you through it.
Thank you. But on my soft costs that we mentioned, that took me from 1.5 to 1.8.
Yep.
Am I wrong, my assumption that the architects and that work is included in that soft?
No, you are not wrong. That would be in that number. I think the 20%, the reason I say that's conservative is a typical 20 would allow you to put in equipment in the building. It would hire your designers. It would have you a contingency and so
Okay.
forth. That's why I think that number is definitely conservative. It would ultimately be less than that.
Okay. Is there Mumberger?
Yes, I'm extremely disappointed because the delegation has reiterated at least 6 times, maybe I'm exaggerating by 2 or 3, that we want something for $1 million. And I'm learning today that nothing, 0, has been done on that. And that,
Okay.
I know.
we're here and we hear all the time, well, it's all the delegation's fault that nothing's being done. And yet, in November, in December, both times we said $1 million, but nothing has been done according to what I'm hearing here. So here we are, we're meeting on the 30th of January, we're not gonna have anything. We're meeting on the 6th of February, we're not gonna have anything. We're meeting on the 13th of February, we're not gonna have anything. This is absolutely crazy, because we're not the ones holding it up. We've said what we wanted, and we're getting nothing other than the 1.8.
I totally concur. Representative McCarthy.
I bring this up primarily for the record. I want it on the tape. I think we've got the cart before the horse. The commissioners have spoken. They have told us what they would like to have, and it seems like the process is, the only responsibility that the delegation has is to either approve what the commissioners want or to disapprove, or to maybe amend it. That's not the way it works. Let me quote from state law, Title II, Section 2413, relative to powers of the county delegation. They have total discretionary power relative to the following: the purchase of real estate for its use, the county's use, the sale or conveyance of its real estate, the erection, enlargement, or repair of buildings exceeding an expense of $5,000 shall be vested in the county convention, period. So what's not getting done, I think, is the county convention's fault. It's the delegation's fault. We should put a stop to it. We are the ones that have the sole discretionary power to do it. Put a stop to it. End this.
Thank you, Representative. You wanted to respond? Did you want to respond?
I was just going to comment on the fact that nothing has been done. I think where we ended with it, as your consultant, if you will, for that portion of it, we ran some budgets based on that study so that the delegation had some information on what these various components might cost.
I fully understand that. We're not faulting you as a consultant whatsoever.
I just wanna make sure they understand.
Absolutely nothing. The point was to the commissioners.
I'm sorry.
Has absolutely nothing to do with you. You're a fine fellow, you're
I
on a
like to
good
get my bigger
company.
shoulders on.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Representative Merrill.
We've been talking some about what we want. We've been talking some about what the commissioners think they want if UNH goes in there. Doesn't it make any sense to have somebody sit down with UNH and go over with them and go over the building and say, what could you live with? I don't think anybody's done that. It seems to me that would be a logical thing to do.
It would, if it was you at the town, if it was me as a businessman, that would make sense. That apparently is not where we are at this point. Commissioner?
Yes, we have done some talking. The things that need to be done in that building is the tile removed. We need a bathroom that's ADA acceptable, and we need electrical work done. Whether we take down the walls to make that more efficient use for cooperative extension is still up in the air. The HVA system, do we need it? Not necessarily. We've got by with it for 40-some years without it. But the tile, the bathroom, the electrical is a must. That would have to be done over.
And what, if you take the HV out of the process, what does that reduce my 1.8 million by?
I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Representative Merrill.
but Commissioner Sorensen, have you actually gone over there with UNH? Because I hear somebody saying, well, we can use this if maybe we only paint the walls and don't do this or that. Have you actually gone over there and gone over this with them and seen
No,
what
we
it's
haven't.
like?
We haven't.
Don't you think that would be a good idea?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before we move on here? Thank you. We did a tour this morning. Want to thank Superintendent for doing that with us, Bob. That was very kind of you. Have you, looking at, there's items remaining in there, whether it be office fixtures, living quarters, kitchen equipment, and so forth. What is the commissioner's plan to dispose of that? It'd all have to be out of there. We'd have to pay to move it so that floors and so forth could be taken care of. What's your plan there?
We have had a sale. We advertised it, and I believe we took in roughly $2,000
About $2,500.
for beds, furniture, and so forth in the rooms. We have not put anything out to bid for or for sale regarding the kitchen equipment. Some of that kitchen equipment, I've asked Superintendent Johnson, should we not use that facility? What types of equipment that's presently in there that could be used over at the jail?
And are you going to have a response for that, Commissioner, prior to our next meeting?
We should. I thought we might have it today, but we don't.
May I ask where you had advertised that previous sale? Was that in the Dodge report, or where'd you do that?
Oh, the sale? That was just, we combined that with the Christmas sale that we had prior to the holidays. It was basically a yard sale type venue. We invited the public. It was advertised in the newspaper.
Thank you. There still remains quite a bit of equipment, so you're going to look into the kitchen equipment, and you'll have a number for that for us. I would hope it's not the thoughts of the commissioners that we are going to pay to demolish or get rid of the rest of what's in there. It would seem to me perhaps another one of your sales might be warranted.
Oh, absolutely.
But,
Yes, Rick.
just a question. Somebody said, I thought they said the concept of moving the kitchen equipment to the jail. I mean, the jail doesn't do any of their own cooking, right?
Those pieces, apparently there are some pieces, and I don't know what they are, that could be moved over to the jail to prepare the food over there, if they had to. Instead of selling it, we could move it over there and make use of it at a later date.
If the nursing home burns down, then they could use it, is that?
I don't want to speak for Jason, certainly, but I think that there's been some discussion in regard to VOTEC training, different kinds of things. But that is under Superintendent Johnson's.
And the kitchen at the jail is small. There's really not much room for large equipment over there. There are a couple small pieces that could go over there and be used, but some of the big stuff, really, it's unfeasible.
And some of the big pieces that are over there are the things that have value in them.
Stainless
So,
steel.
yeah, restaurant supply and so forth, I'm sure is where we should be looking, or where you might consider looking. I don't see that the jail would probably have room for anything more than probably some stainless steel shelving and so forth. They're certainly not gonna need a dishwasher. They're certainly not gonna need a very large freezer, walk-in coolers. So much of that equipment, I'm sure we're gonna be told, is antiquated. But if superintendent is correct that they have limited space over there, I think they should certainly be able to make up a decision pretty quickly in a justification. Representative McCarthy?
Yes, I'd just like to inject what I know, because I am a member of the jail subcommittee. And we did discuss with Jason the possibility of decreasing some of the costs of food at the jail. And he did look into perhaps starting to do their own cooking, and he thought that maybe some of the equipment that was over there could be utilized. But when he looked into it, he found out that it would actually cost, a little bit more to do that. I think the contract he has with $240,000 a year, something like that. And he said that he really couldn't do it any cheaper than that if they did their own cooking. So I don't think they're looking to move any of that stuff over.
Maybe some small items, but I don't know. I just asked him to put together what he thinks he could use out of the nursing home.
Thank you. I would hope that we would put out that we have restaurant equipment and so forth, go through the same process that we have and try and clear everything out, and then perhaps ask a salvage guy then to come in to take a price for the rest. Representative Fleck.
Thank you. This is a question for the commissioners. If a food service operation, a culinary program of some type were to be done, wouldn't it be just as appropriate to do it in the old nursing home rather than to even think about the jail, that the old nursing home would be the place to do that kind of a training program?
I don't know the answer to that question. Jason would be better able to handle that.
Thank you. If I could, I would, if we're looking at a training facility and working and giving our incarcerated the best chance possible, and I was instructing the program, I would certainly like to have them over there with the state-of-the-art gorgeous facility that we have in the new nursing home, which is absolutely beautiful. Was there another question? Okay. If we could move on. Are there any, to the commissioners, are there any long-term contracts, 20 years, long-term to me, I'll give you 15, in place, or any active RFPs that you are pursuing to rent the space in the core structure or any space located outside the core? Not a fishing expedition, but what do you have solid that we can report to our delegation for next week?
We have no outstanding contracts. As you know, we brought it up to the delegation about Department of Health and Human Services. We're looking for a building, but we could not get a commitment out of them as to how many years they would go for a contract.
And I think at one point in time there was some possibility of the probation people coming in,
Yeah.
Okay.
but again without anything definitive.
Thank you, Representative Solomon. So there was great discussion about applying for that Health and Human Services that you spoke of earlier, but we did not enter into that process, and we're not under an RFP for whether it be that, whether it be for probation, whether it be for UNH. None at this time.
Well, we're hoping for UNH to come down there, but there's no agreement.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to say, with regard to UNH, Ann Hamilton does a program where she uses a kitchen for the people who are in the business, and she runs this program every year. It seems to me that it would be beneficial if she had If the UNH were there, she could use the
Yeah.
kitchen facility.
And I don't dispute anything you're saying, Commissioner Solomon, but my understanding is presently that certification for people that handle food, that they have to go through. And Ann Hamilton is a wonderful person, does a great job, has been administering that. I believe that now is being run with restaurants, or could be run in the private industry, which would negate the need for doing it here. Okay. Something quick?
Yes, I believe under the RSA, the RSA requires for any space that is to be leased, that also has to go out to bid. So all I hear about is UNH Co-op coming down here. Is that space ever been put out to bid that the RSA requires to?
Thanks, Steve. I believe we already got to that point. The point
Oh,
was,
did we?
the point was, do they have they put out an RFP? Do they have an RFP? Do they have a long-term agreement? The answer is no. I'm sure the commissioners would follow the procedures that they're bound to follow. Any other questions? I've come to the end of mine. Any of the committee have any questions for the commissioners at this point in time? Yes,
I have
Representative
one
Beck.
question.
Please.
In adding 1.8 to the 375,000, you get the 2.175, $2,175,000. $375,000, that's a part of the pellet boiler system, which is totally separate. Obviously, that's already a program that's been started. Your tiles are up. It looks like there's been some work started, and that is a separate amount of money. That money, is that already? You already have that money to spend. That's not anything that we're telling you.
Right.
You have that money to spend. And that $375,000 is coming from money that was not spent for the nursing home costs.
Right. Yep.
Okay. I just wanted that clarified. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative, for bringing that point up. So we're back to the 1.8 million.
Yes.
375 is not even part of our discussion. I'm sure the rest understood that. I was clouded. Any other questions? Okay. With that, I'd like to thank the commissioners for taking the time, Bob, Bonapage and Stone and so forth for assistance, and we'll take our recommendation to the delegation.
Is this committee going to pay for the expenses of these people to come here today? Why is that going to be charged to?
I can tell you quite honestly, I didn't invite them.
Oh, I thought
We didn't invite them.
I thought on your email.
I was asked who should be included, notified of this meeting, and
So you're not
I had
gonna
said
eat
that I
tonight.
thought it'd be appropriate to notify them. These gentlemen are probably just as happy to be here as I am, and I'd be surprised if there was a bill. I would think it'd be part of that soft cost.
Just asking.
Okay, well,
We didn't ask them to come.
that's for the commissioners to decide. Yeah,
We decided
I'm
to
going
give it to you.
I'm going to ask that the Regional Appropriations Subcommittee remain. We're going to have a quick discussion here. Other than that, this committee is done. Thank you.
Obviously getting rid of that.
Yeah, it would take
We
this
are.
existing laundry room.
Yeah,
There's a wall here.
yeah.
It would, there's a door here that's been closed off. We'd reopen